My name is Joseph Nguyen. This is the story of our family recited by myself during the week of January the 13th, 2021, when I visited my family in Skokie, Illinois. With the popularity of ancestry.com to find the ancestors of where we came from, I think my children would be interested to use this to find out their ancestors. But we have enough historical evidence up to 1802. So let's start from there and tell you the story of our ancestors since then and where our family is today. You see, in 1802, the first emperor of the Nguyen dynasty, Emperor Yalam, his name is Nguyen Phuc Anh, reunited the country called Vietnam with the help of the French government. He is the first emperor of the Nguyen dynasty. He reigned for 17 years from 1802 to 1819. After his death, the throne was passed on to his son Minh Mang, whose name is Nguyen Phuc Nam. He reigned for 20 years from 1820 to 1840. Without going into all the details of how they ruled the country, all I want to say here is Emperor Yalam is my great-great-great-great-grandfather. This chart is a good organization chart of kings of the Nguyen dynasty. Let's look at it up close. There are 13 kings in the Nguyen dynasty. Emperor Yalam is the first emperor, God-fearing emperor, and was open to the French missionaries. One reason was that the French helped him with military forces to reunite the country. His son, Emperor Minh Mang, was different from his father. Emperor Minh Mang was not friendly with the missionaries. He closed off the country and persecuted the Christians because of his fear of outsiders. He developed a system of naming his descendants for both boys and girls to identify members of the royal family. This is the reason that today we can trace our roots easily back to him. The history book is in the French Museum. More on this in the future stories. After his death in 1840, his son Thiệu Trị was the crown prince and took the throne. Emperor Minh Mang had 76 sons and many daughters. The son number 41 is my great-grandfather. Even though he is not the firstborn, his rank is equivalent to Emperor Thiệu Trị in the system of naming developed by his father. My grandfather and subsequently my father all had equivalent ranking in the emperors in the royal family hierarchy. I was born and named Nguyễn Phước Bửu Châu. Joseph was added later after coming to the US. I have the same rank as Emperor Thanh Thái. His name is Nguyễn Phước Bửu Trân, and Khải Định, Nguyễn Phước Bửu Ảo. By the way, this means I'm ranked higher than the Emperor Duy Tân, Nguyễn Phước Vĩnh Sang, and the last Emperor, Ảo Đại, Nguyễn Phước Vĩnh Thủy. We will come back to this fascinating aspect of my ancestry in the future. I was born 62 years ago on September 3rd, 1958, in a small city outside Saigon in Vietnam called Gia Đình. Vietnam was divided already at that time, communists to the north, democratic government to the south. My life in Vietnam was one of much hardship for my mother and my father. We were constantly living in fear of war. Fortunately, on April 21st, 1975, we left Vietnam on a military cargo plane. Thanks to our dad, who foresaw the collapsing of the government, managed to get his wife and all 8 of his children, including myself, out. We flew to the USA after a stopover in the Philippines. 9 days later, on April 30th, the South Vietnamese government fell to the north, and the whole country is now under communist regime ever since. We arrived in the US, and a new life began as refugees. It was a difficult life because we had almost no support from anyone. It was a hardship for my mom and dad to raise teenagers without money and jobs. We rely on welfare and food stamps. On Christmas Day of that year, my dad managed to buy a very old Volkswagen and drove to Austin, Texas with me and two siblings to live with his friends. We stayed in motels and managed to get there a few days later. After living in Austin and attending school for a few years, I returned to the Bay Area alone in 1977 to be with my mother. My parents had divorced. At 19 years old, I find living in the Bay Area near my mother and other sibling was more fun. Fate would have it that this is where I would meet my future wife. In 1979, 2 years after I moved back to the Bay Area, Michelle escaped Vietnam by boat with her friend and landed in Thailand. She had sponsors in San Francisco, so a few weeks later, she came to the US and settled with her sponsors. We met soon after she arrived from Vietnam at a friend's birthday party and started to date. It was not love at first sight, but later Michelle said once she saw me, she said, "This is my future husband." But when I saw Michelle across the dance hall, I didn't see a determined young woman, but only a sweet, innocent face of a Vietnamese girl. This dating helped me more focused to finish my college, and I graduated from San Francisco State University in 1980. I went on to San Jose State University and graduated from there 1 year later. Michelle went back to school and finished her college at Hill College in San Francisco in the same year. On November 24th, 1984, we got married in San Francisco. Michelle was not a Catholic at the time. With God's grace, we were allowed to marry in the Catholic Church after taking some classes on the sacrament of matrimony. Maggie was born on March 10th, 1986 at Kaiser Hospital in Hayward. 2 years later, Melissa was born at the same hospital. In a couple of years, we were a family of 4. The second tallest in the stick figure is actually Maggie, and then Melissa, my dear wife Michelle. We would have looked like this if we were born 150 years earlier. This is the king of Vietnam, so I wouldn't look exactly like him, but almost the same. For Michelle, this is the queen of the last emperor's Mao Dai. But since she couldn't be queen, so she would not look exactly like this. But for Maggie and Melissa, they would look pretty much like this, since the princess dressed the same whether they were children of the kings and queens of the royal family or of the princess of princess. So we were almost have looked like this. We didn't have the benefits of the Nguyen kingdom, but we have something much greater, the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Maggie and Melissa were baptized soon after they were born in 1986 and in 1988. In 2014, after being married for 30 years, God granted our family the conversion of Michelle. She became a Catholic and was baptized on April 4th that year. Confirmed, received First Communion. I joined the Discalced Carmelite Order and became a professed member. Later, I joined the Marian Catechist Apostolate in Holy Hill near La Crosse and became a catechist in 2012. We moved to Michigan in 1999 and lived in Rochester. Maggie and Melissa attended International Academy High School, a prestigious institution. They graduated in 2004 and 2006 with baccalaureate diplomas. Maggie went on to attend Stanford University and Melissa to UC Davis. Both graduated from Stanford and UC Davis with BA degrees in studio art and communication. After graduation, Maggie was supposed to fly home to Rochester, but she stopped by Evanston, Illinois. She fell in love with the city and the people and never made it home to Rochester. Melissa, after graduation, flew home but settled in Evanston with her sister. They both worked at Northwestern University. Maggie is still working there as the director of Kellogg Business Schools, and Melissa changed her job and now she's working at Podosio Education Corporation as a senior graphic designer. The pizza restaurant in Evanston has a lot of memories. It is where romance began for Melissa and Andy. Maggie introduced them to one another. Andy was working there as a bartender with Maggie's friend. Melissa and Andy fell in love. Andy planned to have a family with Melissa, so a change of job was in order. He went to work for 88 Brand Partners and later became an associate director. Andy still works there today. He graduated from Kent State and finally found a job that is more stable to support a family. Melissa and Andy married at St. Mary's Church in Evanston on September 3rd, 2017. On June 14, 2019, they have their first son and named him Jamie Ernest Yamashiro, a tribute to his loving father, Ernest. Oh, what a joy for us to have our first grandson. Melissa is now having a second baby, and as of this writing, she is 10 weeks pregnant. Maggie met Olivier Lubiers at St. Mary's Church, where they were studying to receive the sacraments of confirmation. Olivier is a French native and is educated in France and graduated with Masters of Arts in English Literature and teaching English and French as foreign languages. He is currently a teacher in French and English in Chicago area. He's an avid artist and plays the piano with his jazz friends. Maggie and Olivier married at St. Mary's Church on December 28, 2019. Our family is still growing in many areas. We do not forget our root where we came from. It is the grace of God that has blessed us over the years and has made us a joyous family. Joy is the result of suffering when we bend our wills to the wills of others for love of God. As our Blessed Mother Virgin, we are praying to Jesus, who is physically with us on earth today in the Eucharist, that we will grow in virtues of Mary, of faith, trust, love, joy, humility, prudence, patience, marital chastity, prayerfulness, and of obedience. May God bless our family. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.